Hi everyone, welcome back. This week we're going to start out with review from geometry, and we're going to talk about 45, 45, 90 degree triangles and 30, 60, 90 degree triangles, just in case you need a brush up. So taking a look to begin with the 45, 45, 90 degree triangle, you have a right triangle, that's your 90 degrees, and then each of the two acute angles would be 45 and 45 degrees. So if you take a look, we call the side that's opposite 45 degrees the legs of your right triangle. So leg and leg. In this case, those legs would have to be congruent because they're opposite the same measure angle, 45 degrees. And then your hypotenuse is, of course, your longest side that is opposite the 90 degrees. You'll notice that in geometry, we talked about the special ratio of each of the side lengths in a 45, 45, 90 degree triangle. So to derive that again, if I called the bottom leg 1 unit, whatever measure you want, the other leg would have to be 1 unit as well. And then if you remember Pythagorean theorem, this states that all the sides in a right triangle are in the ratio of a squared plus b squared plus a squared plus b squared is equal to c squared. And c is your hypotenuse, and a and b are your two leg lengths. So we can plug in our leg lengths of 1 squared plus 1 squared in an effort to solve for our hypotenuse, our c. So you'll notice 1 squared plus 1 squared is 2 is equal to c squared. Now we're going to square root that, and we don't have to add our plus or minus because we're talking about the side of a triangle, so it would not make sense to have a negative side length of a triangle. So we toss out the negative square root of 2, and your c would have to just be square root of 2. So that would be square root of 2 on the hypotenuse. So every 45, 45, 90 degree triangle has this ratio. So you've got every 45, 45, 90 triangle is similar to the triangle above. The ratio of the sides of all 45, 45, 90 triangles are in the ratio of 1, 1, root 2. So if you have one of the side lengths, you can multiply it by the ratio to get some missing pieces without having to always use Pythagorean theorem. So if you'll notice, if you have a leg, which is your side of 1, or 1x, you're going to multiply it by root 2 to get the hypotenuse. So if you have a smaller side and you want the hypotenuse, just multiply it by root 2. And it doesn't matter which leg you have because they're the same. And then on the flip side, so we would multiply. And then hypothetically you had a hypotenuse and you wanted to get that side length back, you would just end up dividing by root 2 to get the leg. So let's do a few examples. We're going to solve this triangle. When you see those words, solve the triangle, it really just means solve for everything that you know. All the angles, all the sides. So we know we have a 90 degree triangle and you have a 45 and 1 angle. So this angle up here would have to be 45. Remember triangle sum that the interior angles of all right triangles have to, or all triangles in general, have to add up to be 180, not just right triangles. So right here we have our hypotenuse of 6. So we're going to divide to get our leg. And you're going to divide by that ratio of root 2, and that'll equal to x. Now, of course, we need to rationalize that, so we're going to multiply numerator and denominator by root 2 over 2. So that is just equal to 6 root 2 over root 4, which is just 2, and then we can simplify the 6 over 2 to be a 3 root 2. So that is the leg there. And also congruent to your other leg, 3 root 2. 3 root 2. Here's another example. So we have x and we have y. Now in this case, I give you a leg. We can get our other leg for free because we know this is still 45, 90-degree triangle. Our leg would be congruent to the 8. So now we're going from a leg to get to our hypotenuse. So we're going to multiply to increase that length. And you get 8 multiplied by root 2. So 8 root 2. Now you might be tempted to change these answers into decimals. Now I want you to resist that urge. I want you to leave it in simplified radical form. All right, because we're moving into unit circle and we need to be comfortable working with root 2s, root 3s, root 6s. We will not be rounding at all in our unit circle. All right. Moving on, we've got our 30, 60, 90-degree triangle. So here's an example of our 30, 60, 90. You've got our smallest side, which is, I called it 1. Our 2, our hypotenuse. So we've got leg. And our other leg would not be congruent in this triangle because our legs are opposite different angle measures. So one will be bigger than the other. And how you determine which one is bigger is you look at the angle that is opposite the side. So I know 30 degrees is the smallest angle in that triangle. So I know the leg of 1 will be my smallest side. Now, obviously, our 90-degree angle is opposite our hypotenuse, which is our biggest side. And our leg that's opposite 60 degrees will be, we'll call it our middle side. So we can actually solve for this x. Let's use Pythagorean theorem. And we'll get our ratio for our 30, 60, 90-degree triangle. Pythagorean. So our a squared plus b squared is equal to c squared. So our hypotenuse is c. 2 squared is equal to one of our legs, call it a or b, it doesn't matter which one you call it. 1 squared plus we'll solve for our b squared. So that gives you 1 plus b squared is equal to 4. So b squared is equal to 3. And then solve by square rooting, again throwing out our negative value, square root of 3. So this gives us our ratio for every 30, 60, 90-degree triangle because every other 30, 60, 90-degree triangle is similar to this triangle right here. So you've got the ratios of 1 square root of 3 to 2. You've got every 30, 60, 90-degree triangle has the ratio of 1 to root 3. So remember the 1 is always opposite your smallest angle, and the 2 is always opposite your biggest angle of 90 degrees. And I usually go from there and go my middle side is opposite my 60 degrees, which is my root 3. We're going to use this ratio to solve triangles. A few things you want to notice as you go through this, that the smallest side is half the hypotenuse. Or on the flip side, your hypotenuse is double your smallest side. If you have, let me erase some of this. So to go from your smallest side to get your hypotenuse, you're going to multiply by 2. If you have your smallest side and you want your middle side, you're going to multiply your smallest side by root 3. Now, on the flip side, if you have the hypotenuse and you're trying to get your smallest side, then you're going to divide by 2. And also, if you have your middle side and you want to get your smallest side, you're going to divide by root 3. Now, it's real hard to go from your middle side to your hypotenuse. My recommendation is that you, in all of these triangles, first, no matter what you're given, find your smallest side and go from there. So as an overview, some things to notice. I want you to see that the hypotenuse is double the smallest side, and the side opposite 60 is the smallest side multiplied by 3, by square root of 3. Now, if you have the hypotenuse, you can divide by 2 to find the smallest side. Then you can find the middle side by multiplying the smallest side by root 3. Now, if you started out with the middle side, you want to divide by root 3 to get your smallest side and then double it for the hypotenuse. Okay, so all of this is kind of explained in our next couple of examples. So taking a look here, solve the triangle. In our example, we want to first identify that it's a 30, 60, 90 degree triangle. Check, take a look at those angle measures. And then we can apply the ratio of every 30, 60, 90 degree triangle. And I usually look to see what I am given first. So 30 degrees is opposite the 5, which makes the 5 the smallest side. And then my hypotenuse is easy to recognize because it's opposite my 90 degrees and my middle. Now your ratio goes from 1x, 2x, and square root of 3 times x. And if your smallest side is 5, to get your hypotenuse, all you have to do is multiply by that 2 because you're calling the 5 the x in here. And so that would be a hypotenuse of 10. And then to get, so I multiplied by 2. And then to go from your smallest side to get to your middle side, you're going to multiply by your root 3. So you take that x of 5 and plug it into your ratio here, and you get 5 radical 3. So your triangle has side lengths of 5, 10, and 5 root 3. Our next example, I give you the middle side. Opposite your 30 is your x, so that's my smallest. And my hypotenuse, of course, is your longest side. So when I take a look at this problem, I want to get back to my smallest side. So to go from your middle side, I'll put the ratio. You've got 1x, you've got 2x, and you've got square root of 3 times x. So right now we're given 4 as our square root of 3x. So to get back to our smallest side, we're going to divide off the square root of 3. So that'll give us 4 over square root of 3. And I'm going to leave it like that for a second. I'm not going to rationalize at the moment. because now to get my hypotenuse, I just have to take my smallest side and double that to get my hypotenuse. So y would equal 4 times 2 over square root of 3, which you can see the ratio pretty easily before we rationalize. So this will give you 8 divided by rad 3, and then let's rationalize. So square root of 3, square root of 3, that gives you 8 rad 3 over 3 for your hypotenuse. And I'll show the work of rationalizing my smallest side, 4 over rad 3. Multiply numerator and denominator by rad 3, so you get 4 rad 3 over 3. So I'll write that 4 rad 3 over 3. For that side, we've got our 4 down our middle side and our hypotenuse of 8 rad 3 over 3. For our next example, we take a look. We make sure it's a 30, 60, 90 degree triangle. So we're missing an angle measure of 60 in there you can fill in. And what I'm given is my hypotenuse. We're going to solve for here's our middle side down here. Solve for the middle. And our smaller side. All right, so remember our ratios are 1x. We've got x times square root of 3 and 2x. So to go from your hypotenuse back to your smallest side, we're going to divide by the ratio of 2. So that'll give me a side length of 4. And then to go from our smallest side to get to our middle, we're going to multiply by square root of 3. So that would just be 4 root 3. So the key to this is first finding your smallest side. That is your x value. So when you go and start with the hypotenuse, you're kind of working backwards a little bit to get to the smallest side. And then once you have your smallest side, your x value, you're going to multiply it by your ratio of square root of 3 to get your middle side. All right, so hopefully you remember most of that. And I hope to see you soon.